Hello. Just 2 months to live. Just days after my 36th birthday, with 2 babies in tow, I was told I had just 2 months to live. If I told you right here, right now, that you had just 60 days left to live, would you live this moment any differently? Where would you begin? What would you do? I didn't know. I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know how to bottle my vim and vigor for life, or my fierce love for these 2 babies. I had so much to do. I had so much to say. I had so much life to live. When crisis strikes, it can knock us down with the force of a tidal wave, leaving us breathless, aghast, and swirling in that great big undertow. It takes with it no regard for our many hopes, dreams, or goals ahead. It does not discriminate for age, for race, for gender, or for socioeconomic class. We are all prey. Even the strongest and the bravest become unraveled, vulnerable, isolated, and seemingly lost. Crisis often takes with it the story we once knew of ourselves. I know this all far too well, as the story I once knew of myself was brutally ripped away by crisis. In my previous life, as I've often come to call it, I had lived a life passionate about health and wellness. I had even established a very successful career in this very arena as a thriving sports chiropractor. I had owned and operated my own well-renowned multidisciplinary health center in the heart of Vancouver's West Side. I inspired my community to attain its best health status, and I certainly practiced what I preached. I was incredibly fit. I hiked every mountain and soared down them all on my skis. I was very happily married. I served as a doting young mom to my 2 wee precious boys. I was still nursing my youngest. We lived in a huge, happy home at the end of a cul-de-sac, and our home was filled with family, friends, with great music and great food. We were truly living the dream. But seemingly, in the blink of an eye, my strong foundation of healthy living and positivity was rocked to its very core. I assure you, cancer was not on my agenda. But at the age of 35, I somehow found myself diagnosed with what proved to be a very aggressive version of acute myeloid leukemia. I hadn't even complained of feeling sick or unwell, and yet I was admitted to our province's largest hospital within hours of this bombshell, within hours of the world as I knew it being ripped away from under my feet. No one ever tells you just how hard it will be when your lights go out and you are left in the bleak of the dark. I somehow found myself swirling in that great big undertow. I had no clue of all that was to lie ahead. Immediately, I was connected to tubes and wires, dispensing countless medications, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every step I took, 2 huge pulls of medications and wires galore came in tow. I was soon covered in bruises on my shins and on my forearms from spending days, weeks on end in a fetal position, retching endlessly. I was kept alive by the kindness of strangers who donated endless transfusions. I endured multiple rounds of septic shock and spiking high fevers. I slowly started to lose every part of the muscle that I once had worked so hard to acquire. I slowly started to lose every part of me that I had once recognized as me. And as brutally hard as the days were, the nights were that much harder. I would lay awake, terrified at night, just to close my eyes to sleep, that they would never come to open again. Terrified at what the next minute, hour, or day ahead would come to bring, as I had already endured so much. I had already lost all 10 fingernails and all 10 toenails and every hair on my head. I had the most profuse drenching of night sweats, causing me to change the bedding more than a dozen times each and every night. I prayed for mercy. Please take mercy on my soul. But despite the unimaginable hardships and the immense and the obvious indignities, I believed wholeheartedly that a positive mindset would ensure my success and my survival. In today's society, there's almost this inherent societal pressure to be positive amidst anything that comes our way. I once resonated with this wholeheartedly, and in keeping with this mantra, I entertained over 60 guests per day, and I served as the hostess with the mostest. Come watch me on my exercise bike. What's your cocktail of choice for my water fountain? Ice or no ice? I considered this all just to be a blip on the path. Head down, focus, eye on the prize. I would be fine in no time, or so I thought. I tried so desperately not to let in the hurt. But then one day it all hit. We had to hire this new nanny, and she brought my boys in for a visit. I was suddenly struck by the presence of this total stranger having access to our family's most vulnerable and most intimate of moments. She left to take my boys home, and I watched them leave the building below from my bird's-eye view above. I watched her load my kids into my van, and I panicked. Would she buckle their seatbelts properly? Would she shoulder check as she changed lanes on the way home? Would she speed? My mind raced. Did she know what truly precious cargo she had on board? I wanted to be the one driving my babies home. I wanted to tuck them in that night, but I was trapped. I watched my van drive away with my boys, and my heart literally drove away with them. It was the most physically intense pain I've ever come to experience before or since that moment. I turned around from that window, all alone in my stark room. I slunk down towards the floor with my back pressed against the wall. I hugged my knees close into my chest, and I wept. And I wept, and I wept, and I wept, and I didn't stop for days. It was the first time I had allowed myself the space to truly grieve the loss that all that crisis had ripped away. Missing my big boy's 5th birthday party. Abruptly having to halt nursing. Missing the chance to greet my boys with smiles and hugs at the start of each new day. I had to honor these very real feelings rather than hide behind them in this code of honor of so-called positivity. Little did I know, but that proved to be the key to allowing my own authentic and very genuine positivity to shine through. Little did I know then, but that proved to be the key in my healing. But in today's society, we are often seen as weak if we allow ourselves the space to do this. But I've come to learn that showing our colors of vulnerability is what truly shows our colors of strength. It's only in that moment that we no longer, in that moment when we are most powerful, is that very moment we no longer need to be powerful. But this mighty lesson almost came too late. And despite my most valiant of efforts, I only grew sicker. I somehow did not respond to even the harshest of chemotherapy regimens available, known as salvage chemotherapy. It's known as the end-of-the-line treatment of cancer, literally the Hail Mary treatment. In turn, I was awarded a 2-month terminal prognosis. I was denied all further medical care aside from palliative care. This prognosis was further confirmed by another leading leukemia institute in the United States of America. Sounds came out of me that I didn't know existed. My boys were so tiny. If I had 2 months to live, I had a lot of living to do. I fought to go home rather than going to the palliative floor. On the home front, if my babies were awake, I soaked in every minute with them, heart by heart, side to side. If they were sleeping, I made memory books, video recordings, and wrote heartfelt letters, all while tears would stream down my face, knowing well the milestones I would come to miss. In preparing for the worst, I always expected the best. And in turn, my fight of fights began. I pursued any and everything in the natural healthcare realm to get healthy. Green juicing, meditation, yoga, visualization, the power of prayer. I did it all. I'm not sure if I'm standing before you today because of all of these efforts, or because of a gift from above, or because I was enveloped with forces of love from all corners of the world, or simply because of my very fierce yearning to get to be mama. But I'm thrilled to get to share with you that because of my efforts in the natural healthcare realm, I did attain a very glorious and a very miraculous remission. Only then was I able to serve as a candidate for a life-saving bone marrow transplant, which serves as a cure to prevent against relapse from such an aggressive leukemia. My only brother proved not to be a match, sadly, and in turn a worldwide search was hailed on my behalf to find a suitable donor. Miraculously, that perfect donor was found halfway around the world. A complete stranger rose to help from Germany in my time of need. I only came to learn of his name years later. His last name, Hope, so fitting for all of the hope he brought on my path. Hope not just to survive, but hope to truly thrive. I'm sure pronounced very differently in his home country of Germany as Hoppe, but it means hope all the same to me. And here he is, my family's superhero. It's a story of the world coming together. Never forget, we may not be able to change the world individually, but we can all change the world for one individual, as he did for me. I grew back, with all of this mighty hope, I grew back to hiking every mountain and soaring down them all on my skis. I was incredibly physically fit once again. My blood type even changed from O negative to A positive, which I thought was an amazing score on that test. But this burst of good health was sadly short-lived. The rise and fall continued. As my physical strength improved, my cardiovascular strength seemed to take a steep and steady decline. I literally just lost my breath. We soon realized my new immune system had decided it didn't recognize my own lungs. And it embarked on this fierce process of rejection, attacking my own lungs as if they were a cold or a flu. And my new strong immune system did a very thorough job. I fell to 84 pounds. I was prescribed full-time oxygen. I eventually lost my vision with the harsh medications. I couldn't read. I couldn't drive. I couldn't exercise. I couldn't even watch a movie as I could barely see. I was told my only chance of survival would be a double lung transplant. For something amazing to happen to me, something terrible had to happen to someone else. How does one come to grapple with this? Merely surviving each day became a feat all on its own. But exactly 3 years to the very day that I was told I had just 2 months to live, I received the call of calls saying new lungs were awaiting me. Because of the kindness and generosity bestowed upon me by the family of another who made their most trying of decisions amidst their most trying of times, I was gifted the gift of new lungs. I could finally breathe, a gift we also readily take for granted. In a tumultuous 3 years, I had come to stand not only as a survivor of a once expected 2-month terminal prognosis, but further as the very humbled and honored recipient of both a bone marrow transplant and subsequently a double lung transplant. Surely I would now be back on my track. But even more unexpected complications were to follow. I spent another year admitted to hospital. I would fight to get out every day to pick up my babies from school, to make a home-cooked meal, and to cheer them on at after-school sports. I needed to keep my sense of purpose in this great big world. I would dress as if I felt well. I felt it made me feel even better. I would often be asked by other hospital staff throughout the building what floor I worked on. but rather I would come to reply I was a full-time resident. But because of the immense support from the hospital staff and from friends and family far and wide, I grew strong once again, despite every odd against me to do so. I was finally back at home, able to greet my boys with smiles and hugs at the start of each new day. But the rise and fall even continued. 6 weeks later, after finally being home, it was clear the trials and tribulations of the Armageddon of storms that we had navigated all proved too great for my once happy marriage to withstand, and my husband asked for a divorce. Did you know that 50% of marriages do not withstand a cancer diagnosis? I didn't. They certainly don't tell you that at diagnosis when you're holding your husband's hand. Nor did I know that a married woman facing a cancer diagnosis is in fact 6 times more likely to face separation or divorce as compared to a married man facing the same diagnosis. Shocking. Never once did I think my happy marriage would fall prey to these ugly statistics. I had often described my husband as the man others aspired to be. But cancer affects the whole family. More resources need to be allocated to better serve these families of young, sick parents. I'm passionately working to spearhead initiatives on this very mission as we speak. But despite how well I look and feel standing before you today, there are still nights now when I awaken startled and gasping for air. I pat the bed frantically, trying desperately to ascertain my safety and my surroundings. I feel for the tubes that once held me captive. I feel for the tubes that were once connected to every part of me. I feel for the handcuffs that once held me captive to my ICU bed. I hear the beeps and the buzzes and the screams of agony from the patients down the hall. I feel for my pelvis, for where I was drilled to the very core, time and time again, wide awake for every gut-wrenching turn of that drill. I was left with bruises for well over 3 years to follow. I remember every little bit of what I endured with those 4 white walls staring back at me. But then I slowly start to see that the walls now staring back at me are not white, but rather brightly colored pink. Fuchsia, in fact. I remember I intentionally painted my bedroom walls this very color to serve as a stark contrast to these very moments. These pink walls give me all the comfort I need to know that I am safe, I am alive, I am well. Most would refer to these moments as traditional post-traumatic stress attacks, as they certainly are. But I have come to call them my gratitude attacks. Gratitude for the chance to still get to be called mama. Gratitude for the chance to still get to live, to laugh, and to love with my boys each and every day. Gratitude for the chance to still get to be their loudest cheerleader. I choose to focus on the blessings. I choose to find the silver linings. It's a choice I make each and every day. My finances have been very harshly impacted, but yet I've come to realize I have everything I could ever want right in my very arms when I hold my boys. We no longer live in that big, beautiful home, but we've come to love our cozy cottage 3-bedroom apartment. We no longer have that family unit of 4 that I once held so dear. Yet our little trio of 3 has the tightest of bonds. I can no longer serve in the profession that was truly made for me. Yet I get to be here with you today. I can no longer hike up those mountains, but I can still ski down them side by side with my loves every step of the way. We smile away the whole way down. Despite the very obvious hardships on this journey, I feel infinitely blessed. I get to be here today with you. I have started this journey as a caterpillar, but I've come to emerge a butterfly. I have grown my wings to fly, and I have deepened my roots of strength. I get to be 43 years old with fresh career opportunities ahead and fresh relationship opportunities ahead. How lucky am I? I want to take a moment to honor a few fallen heroes who would also like to get to be here with us today. My dear friend Nicole, who would love to see her boy Bodhi now in grade 4. He's recently signed up for singing lessons, and I know well Nicole would love to be in the front row cheering him on in his upcoming performance in December. My dear friend Eileen, who would have loved to have celebrated Thanksgiving with her beautiful family and grandchildren. My friend Matthew, who would love to get to serve as the amazing example that he was for his 4 beautiful boys growing. My friend Matt, who would love to be in this room with us today, sitting in the audience right alongside his beautiful wife Serena, who is also here too. My friend Nicole, who would love to get one more opportunity to do one more camping trip with her son, Colin. What they would give just for one more day. You too get to be here today. So the next time you find yourself frustrated over life's daily ebbs and flows, choose the lens through which you choose to see things. Choose happy. Choose gratitude. You too get to sit in traffic. Just turn up that music, sing it out, and sink into the now. Stop worrying about where you think you should be and enjoy where you are right here, right now. You get to go to work. You get to go to school. You get to navigate all of life's chaotic days. You get to choose the lens through which you see it all through. Choose happy. Choosing happy means you choose the brightest lens to see it through. But just like perfecting your latest piano performance or your soccer dribble, this takes practice to make perfect. It takes an active choice that you must make each and every day. It takes commitment that then just flows out of us naturally. See it, feel it, believe it. And never forget the mindset we hold is our most powerful tool. But this happiness habit is only successful if you allow yourself this space to grieve all the hardships along the way. It's the only way that we can truly allow our true and genuine positivity to shine forth. I hope my story is one that you will not forget. I hope my story moves you to go home and to hold the ones you love a little tighter. I hope my story ignites you to live a richer and brighter life, truly soaking in the moments of now. I pray my story will serve as a light to your dark and will serve as a beacon of hope when all hope seems lost. Life is beautiful. Life is hard. Be real, my friends. Go live it, love it, and let your bright light shine. Own every second of the gift we are gifted in today. Thank you.